TEDxDetroit. Today, I am here to talk to you about risk. But first, and this is kind of random, I'd like you to picture your resume. Those big, bold titles, carefully crafted descriptions. It's your masterpiece, right? As it should be, because it's what society uses to determine your value during your career. Now I'd like you to think about another important summary, your obituary. It's what society will use to measure the value of your life for the rest of time. Now, what comes to mind when you think about your obituary? Well, probably a lot of blank space, maybe some blurry words, and oh my God, what photo are they going to use, right? But the truth is, it's also your masterpiece. Doesn't that seem off? That we are working on two masterpieces around the clock, but only actively think about one. So let's play this out, okay? Let's pretend for a moment that you just died, okay? It was painless and it was sudden, but as of 5 seconds ago, you are definitely dead. So the question is, what would be missing in your obituary if you died today? The book you never wrote? The trip you never took? The league you never joined? And what would your obituary sound like if you died today? Well, for me, mine would sound a lot like my resume. Graduated from there, worked here, did this, ran that. Why? Well, that is what I've spent the majority of my time on this planet building. So if life expectancy in the US is 76, and my life plays out like an average American at 41 years old, I will have spent half of my life building only a paragraph of the obituary that I would actually want written. So what made me think about this? Chest pains. Pulsing, hard, piercing chest pains on my way back from work last fall. I went to the ER, and the nurses ran my vitals, but everything came back normal. See, what I had wasn't a heart problem. It was a stress-induced panic attack. Stress from an inability to balance my career with the rest of life. It was at that time I realized I needed a career halftime. And frankly, the riskiest thing I could do right now is continue to build my resume. And so I told my wife, Jess, that I was going to do this, and she was like, thank God, I saw this coming from a mile away. And then she paused and said something that changed our lives. Let's go see the world before we're too old, before our kids start school. See, Jess understood the privilege of aging. She had a mom that died too soon of cancer and a dad that is now managing Alzheimer's. And lucky for me, she was also very good at saving. So she had paid off our debt and built up a savings account aspirationally named Year of Travel. And so we weren't rich, but we had a plan, and if we could stick to the budget, we could actually pull it off. So we quit our jobs in January of this year. And we headed west around the globe with our then 6-month-old Ella Jo and our 3-year-old Mac. Whew. 14 countries, 12 languages in 8 months. 30,748 miles from Detroit to Detroit. Now, of course, our kids may not remember a thing. But we also knew that in the first 3 years of a child's growth, more than 1 million new brain connections form every second. So our hope was that this trip would supercharge those connections. But honestly, as we were watching Detroit disappear from our airplane window, we still weren't sure if this was a mistake. But the risk felt good. And we needed that adrenaline traveling with an infant and a toddler, especially during the first blowout diaper change in an airplane bathroom. Whew. But the thing was, adrenaline wasn't enough. We needed new mindsets. This was our new full-time job. But there was no supervisor, and there was certainly no training. And there were so many things we learned. Like where not to set your coffee cup, and that lizards love granola bars. And that you should always carry peanuts just in case a monkey steals your sunglasses and you need to negotiate. And in Montenegro, I learned how to hike through an angry herd of goats. And in Italy, we learned that nap time follows no clock. And also, we learned to write down every amazing toddler question, like, do firemen eat boogers? What's your favorite food? Mine is ice cubes. Is there a National Pancake Day? Do airplanes sleep in the sky? And my favorite, after we go to the rice fields, can we go to the ice cream fields? But regardless of where we found ourselves, one lesson remained true. It's this universal truth. To live a full and balanced life, find daily connection in something larger than yourself. The happiest communities that we visited, oh man, it's all they did. It's all they did. There was two ways. The first way was through a daily connection to a higher power. In Bali, for example, you can't walk down the street and not step over a daily offering set out by a shopkeeper. Small baskets filled with fresh flowers, incense, and a small gift for the gods. Could be candy, could be a cigarette. But it was this quiet reminder to be grateful. And every single home in Bali had a temple. While in Istanbul, faith was on blast. Daily prayers were broadcast from the top of minarets. Pure harmony echoing through the alleys, despite traffic and Turkish pop music and donor stalls. And this pure harmony, for anyone within earshot, reminded them of the purpose and the value of their life. And the second way we found daily connection being made was through nature. Like the communities of surfers in Portugal that every morning would paddle out to ride some of the biggest waves in Europe. Now, I thought this was like the coolest thing, and I'm like, I gotta surf. I gotta try to surf. Now, picture the spin cycle in your washing machine. That was what it was like the first couple times I fell off the board. But this guy, Coach Carlos, man, he was like, no, slow down, Trevor, you got this, slow down. And eventually I did. I stayed on the board, and I felt this raw power of an Atlantic Ocean wave, and it was awesome. But the truth is, you don't always need to be active in nature. You can just sit back, you can breathe, and just appreciate your surroundings, respect, fear your surroundings. You know, in the Swiss Alps, in the New Zealand Southern Alps, where sheep outnumber humans 5-1, just me and the kids, we would just literally just take a breath and look around and look up and just, man, feel so small in the best kind of way. Okay, so over 30,000 miles traveled. This was the big takeaway. There was nothing else. To live a full and balanced life, find connection to something larger than yourself. And this truth is so magnetic that even if you tried it for a day, it would naturally pull you towards a fuller life. Look, this may seem obvious, but I needed to step away from the life that I was living to find the life that I needed. And I'll be honest, it was worth trading a gap in my resume for a new story in my obit. And look, there are people out there, I know there are people out there that right now are struggling with work-life balance. And you know what? A career halftime might be on the way for you. But you don't have to leave your job. You don't have to travel. You just need to give yourself permission permission to take time, permission to have space, permission to make some edits, and permission to work on both masterpieces. That right there, that's a risk worth taking. Thank you, everybody.